Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Uh, Good evening, good night, good morning. And we will have today is, to be honest, my first live. So sorry for any problems because I'm learning as well to use the tool, all these things. So the live will be about the cost estimation methods. My name is Helber Macedo. So let me start first, introduce myself to you. Um, I am the cost manager at Baker Hughes here in the UK. We are responsible to develop cost estimation around the world for subsea equipments. I have over 15 years of experience in the oil and gas and nuclear industry, and also I have a certification in this area. I am CCP from AACE, and I am a member as well from ACOSTE, this cost engineer institution here in the UK. I have two master degrees, one from Cardiff University in sustainable energy, and also I have one master degree in geophysics in Brazil from Federal University from Brazil. Um, Also, I'm not an engineer. I'm a physicist. I love numbers. I'm a crazy guy, and I love the opportunity to training, uh, to provide material, share material. I have been an instructor for 5 years at Petrobras University, so I hope that you like this presentation here. So, what will be our agenda today? We'll talk first about the cost estimation method. So we will try to give an overview about the techniques that you can use in the projects. Then we will discuss a bit more about the conceptual or quick methods. What is it and how and when we need to use it. Then I will um, give some idea about the book. Today is the first day that I'm selling the book, Cost Practical Guide to Cost Engineering, and I will give an overview about what you can find in the book. Um, then we will discuss about the deterministic or bottom-up methodology. This is the most common, most famous methodology that we have. I will give some instructions about the giveaway that you do for the book, and also the discount code that I will share for everyone that will be here in the live. Um, the last technique that I will discuss today will be the probabilistic methodology. I will try to give as well a short overview about the methodology, and I will finally provide an overview of the next event that we have as well. We will try to do this month, December and January, some webinars, some lives with some colleagues as well, not only alone here with you, but I will try to invite some friends to discuss some topics that I believe that will be helpful. Then we have the giveaway and the conclusion. So I hope that you enjoy. Thanks for coming. If possible, if you can tell me what's the country that you from, because then I will be able to see the regions that is watching the live here. So initially, what's the three main topics that we will discuss today? Okay, the first is the quick methods. So why? Because like the method says, a conceptual method is fast. You have a few inputs in short time, and you are able to calculate your cost, define the cost for your project, for your asset. The second technique that we will discuss today is the bottom-up or detailed methodology, and this technique you will need to use more time because you need to define the cost for each piece like a puzzle, and to have all your scope you need to define the cost to calculate your total cost for your project. And finally, um, we will discuss about the probabilistic method when you will calculate um, uh, a lot of scenarios. You consider uncertainties and risks, and you could run thousands of possible scenarios. And the questions that I will try to answer is, why do you have different methods? when should we use these methods, and how to apply these techniques. Okay, so uh, why do we have different methods? The first reason is because we have different applications. um, if you don't know so much, you don't have so many information, of course it's not a good idea to use, for example, the bottom up, because for the bottom up technique you need to have a clear definition of your scope. So maybe if you're in the initial phase planning what you do, you need to define the order of the magnitude of your project. You use a quick method, a conceptual method. So different applications, this is one of the reasons that you have different techniques. The second point is about the time. Sometimes you don't have a lot of time and you need to have a very quick result. So in this case, the recommendation is to use a quick method. But when you have more time and you are able to do all your takeoff, define your list of material, bill of material, then you are able to use the bottom up. In the same way, the researchers know, because some of these techniques you need that to have more people to do all these steps that are required. And finally, and very important, is about the maturity of your project. If you don't have a high level of maturity of your project, the best idea is to use a conceptual method, because you have a lot of uncertainties. You don't know exactly what you are doing. Maybe you are trying to analyze different scenarios. So in this case, you go for the conceptual methodology. But you know what you're looking for, your project has a good level of maturity, then you are able to apply a bottom up, for example. Thank you. I can see here the comments. Thank you for colleagues from India, colleagues from Canada, from UK. Thank you. Uh, and when should we use um, these techniques? Okay, so the key answer here is the maturity of your project. So if you have enough maturity of your project, you can go, for example, for a bottom-up methodology. But is your project in the initial phase, the planning, you are in the feed stage, or you're in the initial stage of your project, so it is a low maturity of your project, the recommendation is to use the quick method. The most important point in my recommendation is that your company should have a procedure to define a standard, a guideline, to define what is the best methodology for each phase of your project. And finally, how to apply them. This is one of the ideas, okay? The book that I'm starting to sell today. This is the first day that I'm selling the book. The idea that you find all this methodology and you will find examples and exercise how to apply these techniques. I will now give you a bit more overview about the conceptual or quick method. Okay, so good point about this technique, fast results. So very quick, in 1 hour, could be in 5 minutes, with a few inputs, so you don't need a lot of information. You can get your number, you can calculate your cost. So it's very helpful when you don't have so much time and you are trying to analyze different scenarios to define the order of the magnitude. You use the conceptual method. Also, like I mentioned before, you use this technique when the project has low maturity. You don't know many things. You are trying to analyze what will be the strategy. I can analyze different locations or different technology that you use. Then you use the conceptual method. However, normally this technique you have a lot of uncertainties because there's a lot of things that can happen that will change your numbers. So of course the accuracy of this technique will not be good. Probably you have a high level of accuracy range for these techniques. And what's the types of methods or techniques that we can use for a conceptual cost estimation? Number one is the expert opinion. Um, I can see one comment here. Yes, this video will be available. Okay, I will record this video. Will be available on YouTube, so you can watch later as well. No problem. Thank you for joining here. Okay, I can see colleagues from Brazil as well. Great, I'm from Brazil as well, so welcome. Um, so the first, if you can type it where are you from, will be great because then they can see the overview. I can see the first technique is the expert opinion. So here, when you have one, two, three guys based on experience in previous project, they say, look, based on my experience, I believe that for this project will be required 1 million, 1,000, 1 billion. So it's order of the magnitude that they will provide. Of course, there are a lot of inputs that can change this number, but they will be able to provide the order of the magnitude. The second type is end product units. So here you say, look, um, I believe that the cost for the room, for this bedroom, is for example, for hotel is 1,000. So if I'm looking for a place for 10 bedrooms, I multiply 1,000 by 10, and I will get my order of the magnitude for my hotel. So from one unity, I will multiply my total, and I will get my cost. The next example is the physical dimensions. These I will not explain here now because the next slides will be about this technique that I will give more details. The next one is the capacity factor. So what's the idea here? I know the capacity of production for my factory, for my refinery, for my process plant, and I will use that information to calculate a similar process plant using that information. So I will use a factor in the production capacity, and I will calculate my new cost for my new process plant. Uh, Another methodology is the fact method. What is this case here? I will have a factor for each discipline. For example, I can have one factor for pipe, one factor for electrical, one factor for civil construction, and I will use these factors to calculate my total cost. Or I can have one factor for look. If I know the total cost of the equipment of my process plant, and I have a factor, I can discover my total cost for my process plant. So suppose again that the total cost of my process plant is $10 and my factor is 10. So multiply my total cost for the equipment 10, multiply by the factor 10, I will get my total cost for the process plant, in this case 100. And the last technique is the parametric equation. When you define an equation, in this case is the most complex and the best method for this list here. When you do a regression analysis and you calculate an equation, after that you include some inputs and you have your cost. Now we will spend more time in the physical dimensions. I will try to give more details about it. So here in the physical dimension, suppose, for example, that you are looking to buy a house and you know that in the region that you look or apartment or a flat, and you know that the price of the square meters for that region is $3,000. If you are looking for a flat for 100 square meters, it's just you multiply the area by this factor for this dimension. Then you multiply 3,000 by 100, and you see that for this example, the cost for that flat, for that house, will be $300,000. Of course, here what you're getting is the order of the magnitude. There are a lot of factors that will affect the exact location, the quality, or the security, or the sunlight. All these things will affect the cost of your flat, of your house. But the order of the magnitude, you will be able to this technique. So here again, more details about this technique. So this is the equation. So if you need to calculate the cost, you will multiply the physical dimension for one factor. So suppose here one example, you will find this example in the book as well. Um, Suppose that one company is looking for a new office, and this office will be 90 square meters, not a big office, it's a small one, and they have a budget of $630,000. And what they are looking for? They are looking for different locations around the world, and they know the cost or per square meter per location, or maybe the price per square meter per location. And then what will be here, um, the selection, because they have a budget and they have the area, and they want in the quick, very fast, no much time, to see what's the best locations that they have enough money to go for, maybe from a second level, that they will go and visit the cities to understand better. So in this case is simple. They will uh, per region, per city, they will multiply the factor by the area. This they will do, for example, for London. They know the factor is 8,100. They multiply by the area. They will see the total cost for that location. After that, it's very simple. When you plot here in this chart, in the histogram, the each city, and you have a line with your budget here, you'll be able to see what the cities that you have enough money to buy this new office, and what the cities that's not possible, that is very expensive. So you can see, for example, that London will not be a good idea. They don't have enough budget to buy a office, but if they go for Rio de Janeiro or New Delhi, they will be able to buy this office. Okay, so this is the idea. You see few inputs, very fast, they calculate the cost. This is the idea of the quick method or the conceptual method. Now I will ask you a few minutes, because I would like to give you an overview about the book, what you will find in the book. Okay, so the book is divided in 10 chapters. The first one is an introduction, when I will just provide an overview what you will find per chapter. The second one is the base concepts, when you will see important concepts that will be helpful in all the book. So, for example, what's the difference between cost and price? How to estimate two important features, that labor, material, and equipment. What's the difference between direct and indirect costs? And also what is and how to estimate overhead. Then what's the difference between some fixed and variable costs? Then one important point about the scope, how you can define your scope, and what is WBS, work breakdown structures, and CBS, cost breakdown structure, and then how to do the integration between them. The next part is about the difference between CAPEX and OPEX. The next chapter, exactly the topics that I discussed before. You will find in all the book is very hands-on, practical approach, when you see examples and exercise and the formula. So you will see the physical dimension, the parametric equation, all the types that I mentioned in the previous slide, you will find in chapter 3. The next one is about the bottom up, the detailed methodology, and you see what is the base of the estimate, what should be included in this document. Then what's the process that we need to follow up in detailed methodology. We'll talk a bit more about the scope and the takeoff, the planning, so how to calculate the duration and of the activities for each activity to build your schedule, the direct and indirect cost. We talk about overhead, contingents, profit, all these things, how to estimate them. Then we finalize, talk about baseline. What should be my view, in my perspective? You could be some different views in the baseline. Then I will explain what is the accuracy range, what can affect the accuracy range, and the important steps about the cost review and cost estimate validation. Finally, in this chapter, you have an example of one bottom up, one detailed estimate in this chapter. The next part of the book To finalize this section of cost estimation is the last topic of this live as well. It's the probabilistic cost estimate. It's something that is not very used. Many people is not using, but I think that we should use because we will include the uncertainties and risks, and it will help to calculate the contingency. Also, in this chapter, we will discuss about management reserve, how to calculate it. I'm proposing a technique. I'm proposing one equation as well to calculate the management reserve. Then we move for the second phase of the book, if I can say this way, when we have economic index, because the idea here is to analyze the project if it's profitable or not. So we will talk about the economic index, like the payback period, about the break-even analysis, all profitability index, all these indicators I will explain. I will give examples and exercise, and then we jump for the next chapter when they will try to provide an example of how to do economic feasibility study. So you calculate your costs in the cost estimation from the initial chapters, you calculate your economic index, you calculate your cash flow, and then you have an economic analysis and a decision gate to support the leadership saying it's a good idea, go ahead or not with this project. And finally, I will give examples. One example including inflation, and another example without inflation. And finally, we have an exercise. Then, to finalize this part of the book topics, we move for the execution phase when we need to have our cost management. We need to have a cost control. So we will try to give an examples like annual value management. So what is it? How to use it? And also the basic stuff when you make comparison between what is planned, the budget, and what is performed, your actuals, and how to do this analysis. And finally, some additional things like S curve, rundown curve, and the indicators that could have in the scorecard, for example. Then we will go for some additional topics that can be helpful in all the book, like benchmarking, depreciation, inflation, sensitive analysis, and readjustment for the contract. And finally, I have a small section about sustainability and cost and how to calculate the carbon footprint in your project, and about the decommission. I know that there's a lot of projects that is finishing the life um, after 20, 30, 40 years, and it will become an important topic as well. And also, I will provide a tool. You buy the book, but you have a tool in Excel with all the examples and exercise. So you'll be able, it will be an open tool. So important if make a backup, because you will be able to change the formulas, to see the results, to see the inputs. You'll be able to see how to do the probabilistic cost estimate. You see the same examples that you have in the book, you will see here as well. Um, then um, we will now talk a bit about the second technique, the bottom-up methodology. We discussed initially about the conceptual, and then we discussed some things about the book, and now we will discuss about the bottom-up methodology. This is the most famous technique. Yeah, there one comment here about the CCP preparation and the examination. Yes, the many of the topics that we will see here will be covered in the exam as well. So um, there's question that probably if you are preparing for the CCP, for example, the conceptual technique or the quick methods, of course, it will see questions in the exam. The bottom up, maybe some of them, of course, because the time required to do a bottom up, I don't believe that in the exam they will require that you do everything, but maybe they can have some small question about it as well. Um, so the first comment about the bottom up is a time consuming. It's something that you need time to prepare, or your planning, to create your takeoff, to do everything that you need to do, define the cost, do the revision, the validation, the approval. So it's something that is very hard to do in a short period of time. And if you do it, of course, you can increase the risk to have errors during the phase. No? The second important point about the bottom up, you have, it's like a puzzle. You need to add all the inputs to create your cost. You need to include your labor, you need to include your equipment, your material, additional things like insurance. Maybe in some case you need to, if you include a cost with tax or not, you need to include, you need to see the location, the country, the requirement from the client. uh, Another thing, like I mentioned before, the maturity of your project, and here's your importance, should be high, because if maturity of project is low, probably the quality and the accuracy range of your cost estimation will not be good. And finally, you are expecting low level of uncertainties, because if you have high level of maturity, you have low level of uncertainties. If your project has low level of maturity, you have high level of uncertainties. A lot of things that you can have variation. You can have variation, for example, for your cost reference, for salary, for example. If you don't know exactly what will be the location or what will be the label that will be working that thing, you can have variations in the schedule, in the duration, because if you don't know exactly what you'll be doing, maybe you don't know if you will require 1 week or 2 weeks. In the same way, how many people will be working. So they have a lot of uncertainties that can affect your project. Here is, I am trying to use, I have been writing posts on LinkedIn since 2021, and I use one post in the first technique, and here in the second technique I am using as well one second post that I wrote, I think 2 years ago, about the detailed or bottom-up methodology. So what's the applications for this technique? One, of course, is to define, we will go for the next phase if you're using the FEL methodology, when you have different gauge to analyze the maturity of your project. It could be very helpful to define, we will go for the tender phase or not. So it could be one of the applications for this technique. The second one, of course, when you are looking for the suppliers, for the contractors, it will be very helpful to define during the tender phase the price that they will submit to the client this technique, because the accuracy of this technique, if the inputs are good and the maturity of the project is good, you have a very good number in the end of the process. The next application is the cost control. Now, if you have all the details that you build, when you move for the execution phase of the handover, of course, you have all the breakdown that can be helpful for the project manager, for the cost control, for the planning team, to see how much is the budget by discipline, by topic, by product. And also, it's helpful for the change orders. When you have a claim, when you have a variation order, these inputs could support the negotiation process as well. And how is the steps to apply this methodology? Um, First, you need to understand very clear your scope. You need to understand um, what you want very clear, because this is one of the big problems that we have around the world, is when the scope is not clear defined, and you do an assumption, and then in the execution is something different. The second thing is, after you know what you want, you do your takeoff, you do your bill of material, you define all the quantities for the material, for equipment, and here equipment not only that you use to assemble, but also equipment that you need in a process plant, and the labor as well that's required. Then we move for the planning phase. You need to plan how you do this construction, how you build it, how, what will be the sequence, how you do your procurement, what will be the location, all this stuff you need to plan. And it will be a very important input for your cost as well, because from the planning, you have your schedule, you have your deadlines, you'll be able to provide histograms with all the inputs that you need to execute your project. Then you start to costing. You start to define the cost for direct and indirect cost. So for everything, for all the labor, everything that you be on the process plant in the end of your construction, you need to calculate, but also the indirect cost, the cost for the design, the cost that the people that the safety team, all these guys you need to estimate as well. Then you estimate additional cost, like for example the overhead. If is the case, then you need to see what is the procedure for your company, the profit, and the need additional cost for logistics, for anything else that is required. Finally, you need to define as well your contingencies, how you will be with your contingencies. And here there's a lot of techniques that you can use your contingencies. You can since define one percentage that will be 10, 15%, or you can use, for example, risk analysis. Then you will simulate scenarios to calculate your contingencies. And finally, you have your review and your validation. What is important? One important information is the time required. If it's very complex, your project, of course you will need more time uh, to build your cost, to review your cost, to validate it. The same way, the team that will be working here, of course, we have a lot of tools that is in the markets that can maybe reduce this thing of time and how many people will be working as well. But I can say that overall, if your project has a high complexity, different disciplines, probably you need more people working. One engineer for mechanics, one an electrical engineer, one for civil construction. So you need the different professionals. So you need to analyze what's the scope to define the team that will be working in that cost estimation. Also, one thing that I believe, if you are in the simple project, maybe you don't need people with a lot of experience. But what I believe, and here's one thing that I believe is a very good idea, if you have professionals with high level of experience, because they can, by the lessons learned, by the experience that they have, they can identify areas that could be critical and could avoid errors as well. Another important point is about the quality of your estimate. If your input, the quality is not good, is low, of course your output as well will be not good. So if your input is good, your output will be good. And when I'm saying output, I'm saying accuracy range. So if the quality of your inputs are good, your accuracy range, the possible numbers in the end after the execution will be here. If you have low quality of your inputs, your accuracy range will increase. You have a lot of possibilities for your final number. It could be another day for another topic that we can discuss more about it. And about tools. I saw in my career different tools. Okay, I saw in-house tools that since Excel, a lot of companies is still using Excel is a good tool, but there's a lot of softwares in the market. Here I'm sharing one example, Cleopatra, but there's a lot of softwares that can be very helpful and mitigate errors in formulas and things like that. Now I will give the instructions for the giveaway. Okay, so in the end of this live, we are almost there. I will give away one copy of the book, and I would like that you pay attention here. What I need to be engaged here in the live, I need that you type hashtag giveaway in the comments. So if you can type giveaway now, hashtag giveaway, like you can see here in this screen, it will allow your participation um, in the end of the live. So please type in the comments hashtag giveaway now. Thank you. Thank you. I can see here one. If you can type hashtag giveaway, it will be great. Okay. Um, Another thing that I would like to let me just check here if it's okay, it's working. So please type hashtag giveaway. um, this is the code that you have 40% discount during this month of December to buy the book. So in December, if you use this code here, PGCE40, in this site here, this is the publisher of the book, you will find 40% in all the format, ebook, paperback, all the formats. You have 40% of discount if you use this code here that you can see in the screen and going for this site for the publisher. Okay. um, Now we will jump um, for the last methodology. That's the probabilistic method. um, this methodology was the reason. The reason is because cost estimation is not exact science. um, in the cost estimation, we cannot ensure that if you define in the tender phase 1 plus 1 2, that in the execution be 2, because there are a lot of things that can happen and can affect my final number, because we have a lot of risks and uncertainties that can affect. It could be the productivity will be different, the weather conditions could be different, you can have a strike, you can have a lot of external factors that can affect your execution from what you did in the tender phase. So the idea here is, you will follow these steps to build a probabilistic cost estimation. So the first step that you need to do here is your deterministic cost estimation. So the bottom up. The bottom up is your first step. You will build your bottom up. Then you will include uncertainties. You need to do assumptions about your uncertainties. So for example, you can define a range of possible values for the salaries, for example. Another thing, you can define a range of possible values for the duration for each activity. So normally you can, for example, use a distribution. Here is triangular distribution when you need to define three different values: the most likely, the optimist, and the pessimist value. So you can define a range of possible values, and then you will use this input to run your simulations for all these uncertainties. But in the same way, you have not only uncertainties that can affect your project, you can have risks that can happen. Something can broke during the construction, or it could have an accident or something, or one supplier can delay um, 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 the delivery of the equipment. So you need to identify your risks, and then you need to assess your risks, define what's the probability and what's the impact that will be if this risk occur. So after you define your uncertainties and define values for these uncertainties, you need to do your risk identification, your assessment for your risk, define the probability, and also um, the impact. You do your simulation. You run simulations. Like I said, in the tool that you see with the book, you will see examples as well about it. Here is one picture, that's one example that you find in the book, that what you can see here, you run your simulations, is this result of all your simulations. You see each of these columns here is the histogram of possible values that you can have in your project. And this orange curve here, this is cumulative probability curve. What is it? It's adding all the possible results until I have 100%. So this information will be helpful because you will be able to see, for example, suppose that my probabilistic result, so my deterministic result, my bottom up result is here in this point. So I can see that around 6% of the simulations, my number from the deterministic cost, from the bottom up cost, is enough. I have enough money. But for 40% of the scenarios, I will have a cost overrun. So maybe I can define a contingency to protect my business, to protect my execution. So the bottom up, the probabilistic methodology is going for top level of cost estimation in my view. And it's something that I believe that in the future we need to move and move soon to use this technique in the majority of the projects. Okay, so now we are arriving the end of the live. I will first say thank you for your time, thank you for your presence. I would like to share the next event. The next event will be next Tuesday, 6 p.m. UK time. We'll talk about project management best practice. So we'll try to talk about what you can try to do to improve the performance in during the our projects. And I will have the pleasure to talk with John Diaz. He's a director of AAC in Europe and Africa, and we will be discussing here in the same channel. I hope that you will be here about project management. Okay, now we were moving for the giveaway. Um, and again, I will one more time. If you want, you can. If you didn't have time, you only need type once. Okay. Um, Hashtag giveaway. If you type once, it's okay. You are you'll be allowed to participate for this. So let me jump here. 1 minute. So um, I will just, because this is the tool, like I said, it's my first time doing all this stuff, so I am learning. I hope that it will work. So I will click here, and I believe if hashtag giveaway to participate here, let me see, we have 6 colleagues here. Let me click here to see what happened, to see who will be the winner. Okay, so not Sage will be the winner, is the winner. Congratulations. I would like that if you can please share in the comments your email, will be very important because then I will send after the live the instructions. You become the winner of one copy of this book here, and I will send you the instruction. Please send me in the comments your email, or send me a message in by LinkedIn about your email as well. If you are not the winner, don't be sad, because like I said, Tuesday I will have another live and I will do the same thing again. And like I said as well, we have a promotion code, um, um, 40% of discount. Let me just come back here very quick to show the code again. PGCE40. This is the site that you will be able to buy the book with this discount. Okay, so the conclusion, it's very important that each company has a procedure to say what's the technique that they will use, when they will use. The second thing is a very important training. We need to study, and it's important that the company provide training as well for all the employees, how to use the techniques, how understand the scope, how to mitigate errors, how to improve the analysis. What I am seeing that we spend a lot of time building, but a few short time doing analysis. And if you do more analysis, of course, we will identify more opportunities. We will identify as well errors, and of course, you improve the quality of our result. And finally, it's very good idea if you have a methodology to define the accuracy range of each of these techniques, because and here in AACE, they have a lot of documents, practice that show how to calculate the accuracy range, considering the industry, consider a lot of factors, could be a good source to go and check. So thank you so much for your presence. Thank you for your time. I know that some guys is very late in India, so I really um, um, Petros, I saw that you are the winner. I cannot do the draw again because the tool is only I need to learn how to do. But what I can do in the next Tuesday, I will 2 books. I will learn how to do the second one. And Tuesday, if you are able to be here, um, I will try. Let me see if I can see how to do again. Let me see. I think that I have possibility to do again. I am doing now. Let me see. Okay. I don't know if the pronunciation will be correct, but I am doing again. So the winner is Saninder Singh. Sorry, my pronunciation probably is totally wrong, but you are the winner. So if you can type your email, I will send the information for you. Um, um, about the book. Okay. Um, Let me see. That's it. So here's my contacts. I don't know if anyone has one question. I will wait a few seconds to see. Um, I need your email. Okay. Please don't forget to type your email here. I am waiting to see. And here is um, if you can follow me in the LinkedIn, have been writing posts on LinkedIn. This is my email as well if you have any doubts. And also my Instagram. I am trying to use more Instagram to post as well things there as well. Oh, I did read above. Okay, great. Um, Thank you, everyone. Have a nice night. Have a nice afternoon. Thank you, everyone, and see you on Tuesday. Bye.